Do you ever feel like you're two different people? With the guys, you're on fire, cracking jokes, throwing out stories, and just owning the room. But with women, it's like your mind goes blank, and suddenly you're that quiet, stiff version of yourself scrambling for words. One minute you're confident, the next you're struggling to keep her attention for even 5 minutes, and you're sitting there wondering, how am I this smooth with the fellas, but a total disaster with her? So if this sounds like you, well, you're definitely not alone. There are a ton of guys out there who can hold court on sports, movies, politics, you name it, but put them across from a woman and that they're actually interested in, and they're tongue-tied. They hit that awkward silence and boom, game over. I want to share with you a message that I got recently in my private community from a guy who's struggling with this, and he says, as a person, I tend to be quiet and a little reserved and would rather blend in than be the star of the show. However, through my leadership training at work, I have no problem stepping up to the task and leading in environments where I feel that I have the knowledge to succeed, both leading from the front and the back. But when I find myself in a situation where there is no common ground or interests, I feel like I can't bring myself, and I naturally limit my openness to let the conversation have a natural flow, especially with women. As a contrast, I can go to a sports bar and talk for days with almost everyone about sports. Now, this is a perfect example of what we're talking about here, okay? Being confident when you know your stuff, but going cold when you don't know what to say or how to keep the conversation going. So today, we're going to get into why this happens and how you can finally get rid of that conversational block once and for all. Problem number one, pedestalizing women. So let's kick off this video with a hard truth. Some of you put women on such a high pedestal that I'm surprised you don't need binoculars just to talk to them. You're so worried about saying the wrong thing that you go mute. You'd rather nod along like you're at a concert than risk an opinion that might not align with hers. And here's the thing, guys, attraction does not grow out of you tiptoeing around her every word. When you make her the star of the show, you're sending out the message that she is the one calling the shots, and that is the fastest way to dry up the conversation. So instead, you need to be the one leading the conversation, steering it in the direction that you want it to go, so then you can therefore decide if she is a fit for you, not the other way around. Now, leading the conversation does not mean that you are dominating it. In fact, ideally, she should be doing 70 to 80% of all of the talking. The more that she opens up, the more she's invested in the moment with you, and the more her attraction for you grows. But here's the kicker. She'll only do that if you're not afraid to guide things and let her see who you are. Women are wired to respond to a guy who's solid enough to hold his ground and let her step into his world. So the next time, let her follow your lead. And if you've got something to say, then just say it. You'll be surprised by how much more interesting things get when you're not overthinking every word. And saying it in the form of a question that elicits a response is even better because, as again, this allows her to open up and do most of the talking, which will allow her to be in her natural feminine state. Problem number two is assuming that she's not interested in what you like. So you end up holding back on talking about your real interest because you think she won't care. Well, newsflash, guys, if you're dialing down your own passions because you assume she's not into them, well, you are the one killing the vibe of that conversation. And one of the guys in my community, again, he told me that he didn't want to bring up his love for cars on a date because he thought that she would tune that out. So I asked him, are you certain about this? Because every girl that I've ever gone out with has loved cars. He did not give her the chance to be interested, and that is the problem. Being a man in a relationship or even on a first date means that you are leading with what you are interested in. Whatever lights you up, be it cars, sports, or art, bring that to the table. You're not there to entertain her, you're there to bring her into your world. And when you do this, two things will happen. You're going to feel more confident because you're on your own turf, and she will be drawn in by your energy. However, and pay attention to this note, this does not mean that you're going to give a monologue about your interests and just go on and on. The goal here is to bring up what you enjoy, steer the conversation into that direction, and then let her talk if you find yourself at a loss for conversation topics. Ask her what she thinks and get her perspective. Once she starts opening up, she'll be doing most of the heavy lifting, and you're no longer worried about keeping the conversation going. So, hiding your interests out of fear of losing her is like putting a brick wall between the two of you. Show her what you're passionate about. And if she's into it, great. And if she's not, great. At least you know that early on. You are not here to babysit her interests. You are here to lead. All right, problem 3 is self-censoring. This is another trap a lot of you guys fall into, which is self-censorship. You're constantly editing yourself in real time, afraid that what you'll say is something wrong. So let's break this down. If you're not being yourself, you're robbing her of the chance to actually connect with you. Women are drawn to men who live by their own rules, not the guys who are trying to play it safe. And in my free guide that you can grab, it's called The Gentleman's 12-Point Checklist to Dropping Panties, I talk about how living by your own standards is actually very attractive. And when you censor yourself, you're essentially saying to her, hey, look, I don't trust myself enough to let you see the real me. And nothing is a faster turnoff than that. So stop filtering your thoughts like you're auditioning for her approval and live life on your own terms. So let me give you an example of this. So say you're out with her on a date and she mentions a movie that she loves, but honestly, you thought it was garbage. So most guys would probably just go with the flow and say, oh yeah, it was pretty good, just to keep the peace. But that's not real. So instead, try saying something like, oh man, we're definitely in trouble if that's the kind of movie that you're into. And you can say it kind of fun, over the top, with some sort of a disgusted look that's clearly poking fun at her. You want to tease her while holding your own ground, and this actually makes the conversation more fun because now you've shown her that you're confident enough to disagree and hold your ground without trying to impress her, and that you're also down to goof off and tease. And she'll most likely respond back and try to defend, and you can continue the playful banter for a while, getting some laughs and some good feelings. So if you want her to respect you, then you don't want to mute your opinions. Speak with conviction. It's only by being true to yourself that you'll create actual, real attraction. So problem 4 is focusing solely on yourself. All right, here's a twist. Some of you are actually too focused on yourselves. You're so caught up in wondering, am I doing this right? That you're missing the whole point. If all you're thinking about is how you're coming across to her, you're forgetting that she's just a regular person sitting right next to you at the bar. So here's the move, okay? Stop making it a performance and start getting curious about her. When you ask her good, solid questions, she'll open up, and that's your chance to riff on what she says, to joke, to tease, and actually enjoy the interaction. When you focus in on her, you take the pressure off of yourself, and suddenly you're in a natural flow instead of a mental debate with yourself. And when I say focus on her, get her to open up and reveal things about herself with provocative questions. So this means that you've got to be observant and paying attention, but you could say something like, you seem like a girl who likes a little adventure. So if we could teleport anywhere right now, where would you want to go? And then you just let her take the conversation from there. And if she says something like, oh, I'd love to go to Paris, you can throw in a little tease by saying, Paris? I was hoping you'd say somewhere warm like a beach or something tropical. Instead, you're sitting there thinking about croissants. Hey, something like that kind of teases her about it, right? Again, you're showing interest by asking her this question, and then you're spinning it with a joking disappointment that keeps it teasing and playful, and also making it so you're not so eager to agree with her. A great conversation isn't about you coming off like some flawless guy. It's about creating an experience together. There's got to be some genuine interest. There's got to be some ups and downs, and there's got to be some push and pull to that conversation, and she'll feel that. And the best part of that is you'll feel less stress, and she'll be even more drawn to you. So at the end of the day, if you're walking around self-censoring and playing it safe and putting her on a pedestal, you're only holding yourself back. Being captivating in conversation isn't about nailing some perfect script or impressing her with every word. It's about showing up as the guy who's got his own standards, who isn't afraid to own what he loves, and who's confident enough to let her into his world without apology. So here is your takeaway, guys. Stop overthinking, start leading, and let her see who you really are, because real attraction isn't about trying to fit her ideal. It's about giving her a reason to want to be a part of your world. And if you're willing to drop the filters and stop babysitting her reactions and actually get curious about her, you're going to find yourself on a whole different level of connection. And remember, confidence isn't just about being smooth, it's about being real. So go out there, lead with authenticity, and let the conversation unfold. That is how you leave a lasting impression. And if you want to build up the habits of a man who's irresistible to women in these types of situations, then go grab my free guide, The Gentleman's 12-Point Checklist to Dropping Panties. It's a powerful guide that will get you to think differently on how to behave and interact as a man with women. All right, guys, that does it for this one. We will see you in the next video. Cheers.